topic today is to talk to you about why reduced hour working or the 4-day week is more important now post-COVID than ever before. But actually, I wanted to sort of say it was really important before COVID. The reasons for working less are the same now as they were then. COVID has just empowered us more to be able to do it. So when we used to talk to businesses before all of this started happening, and we'd be discussing with them how they make a 4-day week work in their businesses, the main thing that got in the way was leadership ability to trust their staff, and staff's ability to trust leadership as well. A little bit. And so here we sit in this environment where we're all locked up and it's having to work from home, having to have the children at home, having to have a whole new way of working. And so it's important now for us to revisit how we work, because moving forward, we're not going to be able to work in the same way, certainly not until there's a vaccine. But the question is, would we really want to go back to what we were doing before? So if you remember back then, we were looking at ideas around how you might work more flexibly, how you might work remotely, how you're going to fit working around your life. The concept about reduced hours working recognises that actually we've been working too hard. Because if you think about it, work is the minute you wake up, you rush the family out the door. Have you got your sports gear? Oh no, left it behind, pick it up, go back in. And you arrive at work having dropped the kids off to where they need to be, and you're exhausted. You have a cup of coffee, and I just heard the gentleman before me recommending when you might be having your coffee. You've probably had a couple before you've even got to work, because let's face it, that's what gets us there. So you arrive at work and you do your job and you get as much done as you can, depending on how your work is structured. And then you turn around and you do pretty much the opposite of your morning routine in the evening. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch whether the chat before thought wine in the evening was a thing. But for a lot of people, that's where, you sit down with your glass of wine at 9 o'clock, having got everything sorted. And that's your time now. And it's like, well, I've got to go to bed now. So actually what we're looking at is, when do we fit in all of the other things that we want to be as people? When do we fit in exercise for ourselves? When do we fit in time to work in the garden? When do we fit in time to get our hair cut? When do we fit in time to work for a charity? Even just walk along the beach. And so what we're recognizing is that the way we were working and the way we are working isn't fit for purpose moving forward. And if you're not one of the people in the audience who has a family yet or ever, and you're in the younger generations, we know that the millennials and the younger ones don't want to work in the same way that my generation, I'm Gen X, and the baby boomers and those of us that have led the storm to work too many hours, we don't want to work that way. And I'm, I sometimes people go, oh, the young ones don't want to work hard. I'm like, good. We want what's best we want our society to progress. And I want us to all work less, because I want us to be part of our proper lives. One of the things I quite often say, it's a phrase that Lena Nair from Unilever has used in the past, and she says, we borrow our people from their lives. And if we remember that, we understand that work is part of our life, but it isn't our whole life. And so when we talk about reduced hours working, we're talking about how we put that back into perspective. Now, obviously, in the post-COVID world, a couple of things have changed. One is your boss has had to trust you to get your job done remotely and flexibly, because you've had the children at home, so you can't just work standard work hours, and you've also, you've got all the other things that you're trying to fit in as well. But you don't have to commute, and short of you being one of those really unfortunate workplaces where your boss has made you sit on an all-day Zoom call, they've really had to understand how to let you get on with it. One of the problems around trusting was actually to understand how productive that you might be. Now, productivity is a really key part of the 4-day week, a concept, or reduced hour working. It's about increasing the amount that you do during the day that is productive and removing from your day the stuff that isn't productive. Now, generally what happens is, particularly it's easy to see in office place environments, what we're talking about is balancing the amount of time that we spend working and doing more deep work, doing more concentrated work, and shifting the amount of time that we spend that isn't important. And I'm going to use meetings because they're the easiest thing for everybody to understand. You get invited along to a meeting. You're not really sure why you've been invited, or you do know, but it's not, oh, it's like, okay, I'll go along to that. I've been invited. You don't really need to be there, but you go anyway because we're social beasts. You contribute. The meeting starts late because there's always someone that doesn't turn up on time. You contribute a bit. You come out of the meeting, no agreed outcomes, nothing's really going on, but it was nice to be there, and you get back to your work. One of the tests that I often suggest to people with meetings is actually, remember those times when you've got something on and you really need to get it done. And so you say to the meeting organizer, look, I've really got this important thing that I have to get done. Do you really need me in the meeting? And they will, as you know, 90% of the time say, no, it's okay. I'll get to send you the meeting notes. So if we're looking at that test, do I really need to be in the meeting? Then the question is, what is on our work on our desk that's more important than that meeting? And what we easily do, because we're social beasts, is we'll go to that meeting, and I call them work avoidance meetings. It's a nice thing to go along to a meeting and be part of the social group that's around that. However, that does then mean that I'm finishing that report that I really need to get done by the end of the week at home or after hours. And that's how our workplace stretches, because it's easier to do all of the easy stuff, the non-confronting us stuff, when we're in the office, because we have all of those distractions, and then we have to pile that, I'll finish that on the weekend, I'll finish that after work. So what we're looking at is, how do we get more of that work done in our day? Because what we want to be doing after work is a yoga class, is helping out at a charity, is spending some time with the children or your partner, or even spending some time trying to find a partner if that's what you want. Those are the sort of things that make us human, the ability for us to do things that are not just work. So that's why I think it's really important. There are impacts on the environment. If we don't fix this working too hard issue, we're never going to get the proper gender balance that we need. One of the very exciting things about the 4-day week is the balance it's been able to give to our men in our organisation at Perpetual Guardian. The classic one I love is that there is a father who every day walks his daughter to school, and he comes to work at 10 o'clock in the morning. So he works 5 days, but he comes in at 10. And this is such precious time that he has with his daughter. But he talks about also the fact that his wife can get out the door, because all she has to do in the morning is get herself up, engage with the family a bit, and then head off to work. And so she arrives at work in a much better frame of mind. His daughter, if she wants to play for an extra couple of minutes, can. And that's nice. And then he talks to her while he's walking back, and then while he's walking there, and then he walks back. So he's getting some exercise in his day by just doing some of the stuff that our parents used to do. And so why is it important? It's important for us to be human again. It's important for us to be well again. It's important for us to have our planet back again. And so as we look through what is going to be our future of work, wellness in the workplace and well-being in the workplace are going to become more and more at the forefront. The tricky thing for us, and particularly those environments who are locked down, I mean, Auckland's locked back down again, and also obviously large parts of Victoria, is that we've sent the children home too. And so we have to balance how we work and how we educate the children and how we manage all of that very complex situation. But even when we come out of all of that and we live in our post-COVID world, the workplaces that we should be looking for are ones that can find a balance with all of these things, but also maintain culture. So most of the more enlightened companies, and perhaps some of them less enlightened, they're all taking the pulse of their staff as we go through this. They're making sure that their staff mental health is good, that the staff have the things they need to be able to work effectively from home. Most surveys that we see around the world, they're all saying, please don't send us back to work. Between 70 and 85% of people want to continue to be able to work remotely and flexibly. Now, those that don't tend to be the ones who are obviously very gregarious and want to come into the office and come to the office for all of those reasons, but also perhaps those who are not able to be set up well for working at home. And so we have to find in our new world the balance between culture and people being together and people being able to be at home and keeping them well, both mentally and physically. So the challenges for us moving forward are almost the same and almost not. They are challenges that have shifted in terms of how we are able to provide that workplace wellness and well-being were always important, but the solutions that we will put in place to create those safe environments for our people are just different, and we have to be imaginative in terms of how we do it. So much of the conversations that I'm having around the world now are around how do we reduce the hours, but how do we maintain culture? How do we maintain the mental health and well-being of our people? How do we make sure that our workplace is still the place that everyone wants to come to work for? Because as employers, we must remember that we can't run our business without our staff, and the staff need us to have the business to be able to pay them and give them the things. I mean, people come to work for various reasons, but the large one is we pay them to do it. So we need to make sure that we're running profitable businesses, focusing on the productivity upticks that we can get from flexible and remote working and reduced hours working, because our people have whole lives. It's just really important. So I challenge you all to look at the way you're working and the way that we can work more sensibly and encourage each other. We have all sorts of resources on our website, the 4dayweek.com website. If you're looking for any information, if you're looking to contact me or Andrew Barnes, you're welcome to connect with us on LinkedIn or email us or contact us through the website. Andrew has very kindly written a book about the 4-day week, which I really recommend you read. The book itself was launched at the beginning of the year, and obviously the information in it is from pre-COVID, but the advice remains the same, and it really is quite timeless. And so I recommend you read it. You can download it Audible or have it delivered to your door, or have it on your iPad. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can get it if you can't get out to a bookstore to get your copy. But in it is all of the pathways that we took around the Perpetual Guardian experience, but also some of the things that are happening internationally as well. So that's what I recommend you do. Have a look at the way you're working. And I leave you with this. If we are not imagining the future, we are merely reinventing the past.